All right, good afternoon, everybody.
Hang on 1 second.
Sure.
Okay, we're good.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. So we will call the meeting to order of Human Resource Communications and Administration. Do I have any declarations of conflict of interest today? Okay, bearing none. Can I get an approval of the agenda?
Moved.
Moved by Councilor Bernard, seconded by Councilor Duffy. And I'm sure everyone had an opportunity to read the minutes from the May 3rd meeting. So if I could have an adoption of those minutes?
I'll move it.
Moved by Councilor Bernard, seconded by Councilor Duffy. Was there any business arising from those minutes? Okay, seeing none, we can move right on to reports. That's over to you, Bethany. Human Resources.
All right, so you'll see the National Health and Safety Report in the committee package there. Yes. Thanks for the reminder. So you'll see the Occupational Health and Safety report in the committee package there. As noted in the last meeting, numbers were going to be, we're planned to move up. You'll see that we had 100 employee orientations this past month, which would be pretty standard for this time of year as we're easing our summer staff back into the workforce. We had four reports, but no orders written. So OHS officers have been kind of making the rounds, which is great that there were no concerns that were noted. So those are all in the package as well. We had 6 recordable incidents, and 5 of those were no lost time, but 1 unfortunately was a lost time incident. And you'll see that we did 100 WMIS 2015 training, and 14 traffic control managers. Were increasing our training with the increase of staff coming back to the workforce. So if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Any questions from anybody for Bethany? Okay, great. We can move on then to our IT update. And I'm not sure if Rory plans to come back in and do another update, or if that was his at the beginning. Does anybody know? It's pretty straightforward if everyone had a chance to read it, but in case you have any questions for Rory, over to you, Rory.
All right, so IT report was included in the package. I'm not sure if anyone had any questions about it, but I can kind of loosely go over the council chamber upgrade if you'd like. Yeah. So we have most of the council chamber upgrade complete, but we do have a few pieces that we're missing for licensing errors from the manufacturer. So the voting and the ability to display votes is not enabled yet, but that will be coming in the next few weeks. The other piece is an audio recorder. So that's a standalone device that records all the meeting audio to a device, makes it accessible to the clerk on a network drive. We don't have that ability right now, so we're just relying on YouTube recordings for the audio. So aside from that, everything for the most part is working well. We did come across some minor issues with audio conferencing, which we're working with the vendor to fix as well. And that's, I think for the most part, that should be it for the council chamber upgrade. Was there any questions on that?
So the voting won't be up and running for a couple of weeks, did you say?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
I just wondered, I know that one of the biggest frustrations that the residents have is the recording through YouTube. So when is this standalone device for recording so that we're no longer using YouTube?
So the YouTube is just there to stream the video for the public to view, and that is all working great. So the standalone audio recorder is only for staff to use, and that's for a permanent record of the meetings, just in the event that something happens to YouTube in the future. I know they're not going out of business, but in an imaginary world, YouTube goes out of business, we would lose all of those recordings. So that's the purpose of the audio recorder.
Anyone else have any questions for Rory?
No, just, we ran it yesterday for the Parks and Rec meeting, and it seems to be good and clear and so on. There's a couple little hiccups, and he's got them fixed up. But I thought it was very clear. Thought it was good.
Okay, if no one else has any other questions, then we can move on to the communications update.
So Doug Dumais and myself are here today to speak to the Community Engagement Framework update. So the framework is something that this committee and then council would have seen back in February, but we have done some additional work on the program and specifically around building out the brand and look and feel of the community engagement. So just by way of the report that's in front of you right now, there are a few specific updates that we've made. In particular, you'll notice the name, Charlotte Town Hall, which is our suggested name to our community engagement framework. So that's a corporate name that can be applied across all of our engagement activities. And the reason that we've suggested this name is because we actually, as part of the strategic plan, have procured a digital engagement platform. So if you can imagine this digital platform where residents can go on to learn about the strategic plan in this instance, they can complete a survey, do a poll, learn about the timeline. The URL to get you to that platform could be, as suggested, charlottetownhall.ca. So the reason I'm just giving that example is to kind of give you color to the work we've been doing. And then thirdly, within your package, you'll notice the framework now has the applied brand. That's no different than the existing brand that's within the visual standards guidelines. So it completely follows what's been previously approved and set out in the visual policy. But we wanted to present this to you because it is new, it is fresh, and it's an extension to what we've already been doing. So I'm happy to address any questions, as is Doug.
Any questions for Carly?
When did this start, Curly? When did we start doing this?
The community engagement framework itself was developed earlier this year and would have come to committee in mid-February.
So when it goes live, you're suggesting that to call it Charlottetown Hall, or charlottetownhall.ca, just to make it a lot easier for clientele to.
That's right. So it would be linked from our existing charlottetown.ca. But if you were a resident or a member of the community wanting to contribute the feedback, you could always visit charlottetownhall.ca.
So will this also be on the city's website?
Correct.
Okay. So it'd be just a link off the website then?
It would be both.
It'd be both?
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Ah. That's different. But I guess, yeah, it makes sense. There's quite a bit of information in this on the Charlottetown Hall. Okay. A1, thank you.
Madam Chair, just one thing that I wanted to mention. Could you talk a little bit more about the digital platform? I think that that's something that I'm not sure that members of council are well aware of, but I think it's going to be a really interesting tool in our toolkit over the upcoming years.
Thank you. So Madam Chair and members of committee, the digital platform is mentioned here because it's part of, as CAO Donna Waddell said, it's part of a tool kit that we're going to be applying. The platform itself, the one that we were able to procure through the strategic plan process, so already assumed within budget and scope, is through a provider called Bang the Table. And they're really a global leader in community engagement online, but also across Canadian municipalities. So they're award-winning, industry-leading, and it actually aligns quite nicely with our IAP2 principles that are outlined in our framework. So that's the International Association of Public Participation. So what we're seeing before us is really globally a best practice and a trend that we're excited to work through.
Thanks, Carly. I don't,
When do you find that will be up and running? When do you plan to have it?
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Bernard. So we had our kickoff meeting with Bang the Table last week. We start building out our initial site this week with them into next. And so within about 2 to 3 weeks, we will see the initial formation of this. And through the strategic plan project, we know that we're going to be bringing forward more updates to that committee as well too. So this committee and that committee will be well informed of our progress and any potential launch dates.
So when the public was on here, they'll see all the information. They can give feedback also, correct?
That is correct. I can give in color some examples for you.
Sure.
So let's say we visit charlottetownhall.ca. I'm a user, I'd like to register, I sign in, and once I'm in, I can see a little bit more than the average person who hasn't signed in. But by signing in, I can now see that City Hall wants me to contribute to the strategic plan, potentially a new arena, a new dog park, a trail extension. So we actually inform the topics that we're looking for feedback on. And as a resident, I have the choice to just learn more or actually maybe complete the survey or the poll or the mechanism for feedback that we've chosen to enact.
Jason, you remember that study that we did that we paid, it's going to be over 3 years, the 2 years were free and we paid like $10,000 and then we're supposed to have all that information to be able to make a financial decision. What was that called? 'Cause I wonder, have we used any of that information to put this together? Because what that was it was a lot of data collected through municipalities all across North America. And so that would, and there was ratings on it of what their parks were like, what their rinks were like, what comments were coming from the public, which sounds like they would have had a system like this. And at the end of the day, that data would tell us, we'd be able to compare the parks and the size of the parks and the rinks and all our inventory of the streets and so on. And then it would be a tool in your toolbox to be able to help you with your budget of where you should be allocating funds to. That wasn't part of some of this that's going on as though. Anyway, it'd be nice to resurface that. We paid the money and that was going to be, was that just North America or was that globally?
No, I think it was North America. I know what you're talking about. I'm just trying to remember. It was going to be a good, because that was going to kind of guide us, I'm just saying, in terms
Yeah.
of we were going to do our budgets.
And we were given some examples. There were some real good examples there of municipalities close to us, whether it be Fredericton, whether it be whatever, Atlantic Canada municipalities, and what a lot of their residents' feedback was and where they were with fire departments, the amount of people, the amount of staff they had, the police departments. There's a lot of comparisons there. We paid $10,000. It's going to be over 3 years. I think the federal government paid the other two. That might be nice to kind of put on a platform like that too.
Sure. If I may be able to jump in. So that's the World Council for City Data's initiative. Yeah.
That's
So
the name of it, yeah.
for sure, I've been the lead on that file, and we're working on finalizing our 3rd year of verification for that data. So as you mentioned, it is a platform to not only provide data that's verified independently, but also, as you said, compare with other municipalities.
Right, yeah.
So the comparison platform will be launched soon. We've been given a timeline that's been adjusted a few times, but as the lead on that file, I am able to access the kind of beta version of the data comparison project, which, as you mentioned, allows you to compare not only just in North America of other municipalities. As an example, you can compare how many police officers we have per capita
Right.
in Charlottetown with other municipalities in Canada, or other municipalities of the same size. You can adjust it based on population. Under 50,000 would be ours. So that's the WCCD's platform. Is, by definition meant to inform our strategic plan and to inform departmental decisions and decisions of council.
Right.
So it's a very useful platform, and we are looking towards in the long term renewing that commitment to another 3 years of data collection, and that will be coming forward to the strategic planning, the Strategic Priorities and Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee in the coming months. Just as we work to finalize our 3rd year of verification. So that does inform kind of our best practices. I think the framework itself really is a tool to gather I would say, almost more qualitative data as opposed to quantitative data. So the kind of surveys that we're providing on hopefully this new platform would include, here's a draft design of a new, of the Simmons rink, give your feedback. You can go back at another point and here's some adjustments, provide feedback. It really allows you to kind of get a level of feedback depending on the sort of project in line with the framework that we've developed. So they're two separate things that I think as they develop will be able to be kind of paired jointly to provide both quantitative and qualitative data.
So they're intertwined with each other.
Yeah.
So I assume comms people were the only ones that have access to adding or subtracting information on both those platforms. Is that right?
So I'm having trouble hearing you. If you could, yeah.
Sorry, buddy. I'm assuming that the communication staff will be the one that will have the jurisdiction to add or take away anything on both those platforms?
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to be the kind of lead point of contact between Bang the Table and the staff, essentially, that are trained on the platform as well.
Okay. Thanks, Doug. Carly, appreciate it.
Anyone else have anything on this? Communications has done a pretty fantastic job. If you actually had an opportunity to go through it on your phone as well and see all the colors are very vibrant, and the I guess it's not really a logo. What's the term for it? It's a
Word mark or icon.
right. Yeah.
Word mark and an icon.
So I think the next step on this is for us to decide as a committee if we're going to receive this and move it on to council. Okay, moved by Councillor Bernard, seconded by Councillor Duffy. Those in favor? Okay, thank you. And thank you both for that. This is a lot of hard work. Looks good.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. Discussions, number 7. I had actually put this on the agenda. A few councillors have come to me, and just in the last little while, they've been getting quite a few phone calls with the residents asking, inquiring about jobs and things like that. So I just thought it might be a good opportunity for Bethany just to remind us all the process, to ensure that the residents do understand that there is a process of coming through City Hall, and it's not really a councillor's role to facilitate that. I mean, they certainly can help with where to go and how to apply. So I'll just turn that over to you, Bethany.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, yes, certainly there is a robust hiring process here at the city. We have job application forms that can be picked up at City Hall. Human resource staff are happy to email those job application forms to individuals who aren't able to make it to City Hall, or of course they can submit an application online. We post all jobs that are specifically, if there's a job we're looking to fill, we post those all on various social media platforms and job banks. If there is a specific permanent position that we're looking to fill, we do post those online as well. And for those permanent positions, individuals do need to apply specifically to those roles as they are posted. The application form system is a great way to get your resume on file, your application on file with us. And we typically use that hiring process for our casual, seasonal work with the city. So those are the methods in which people can connect with us. We're always happy to, answer the phone, have a phone discussion with somebody who's looking for work, though we don't typically take in-person meetings. And if anybody was to find that they needed an accommodation during the hiring process for whatever reason, certainly we're happy to accommodate in any way that we can do so.
Great, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, so that hasn't changed anything in the last number of years. There's nothing changed there. So is there a reason it's on the agenda?
Yeah, the reason is there have been some counselors have come to me that they've just in the last few weeks have been getting more calls from residents than normal, that they have been given the information that they could call their counselor to help them facilitate a job.
Okay.
Anything else before we move on? Okay, go on to the new welcome subscription discussion. Who is taking that? That's you, Bethany, okay.
I can take this one. Thank you, Chair Yankoff. So the New Welcome subscription was just put on the agenda because, as you'd be aware, we did have New Welcome in for a presentation in our last committee meeting, and they have reached out to the city to find out where that sits. In terms of whether we're looking to get a subscription or not. As you know, this was more of a communications item, but I'm not sure that, given the changes that we've had in internally here, if this has moved anywhere. So bringing it back to committee to flag, and just over to the committee.
Is this the one, Madam Chair? Madam Chair, is this the one that we talked at great lengths about, and at the end of it we said no, we weren't interested at this time? Is this the one where people who don't understand our language can benefit by school closures and all that razzmatazz? I thought we just said no at the time, but I'm not sure if that's correct or not. It wasn't very long ago, was it, Madam Chair?
It was a while back that there was a brief discussion, and at the time, it was back when we had a different communications staff at the time, and it was just briefly talked about. But then in the last few months, we had a presentation from New Welcome, and it's been improved. The systems have been improved. Some of the other municipalities have joined. The province is on, and so we did have that presentation, and so that's kind of why it's back, to see whether or not there is any
Interest.
yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Does anybody else have any feedback? I know personally, I quite thought the presentation I thought was quite impressive, and I know that some of the other municipalities are using it. And I know one of the questions that people had was, well, if the province has already paid for all of the individual residents of PEI to use it, what would be the purpose for the city to then pay a subscription for the residents of Charlottetown to use it? But what it is, it's more so that the city of Charlottetown right now does not have any city information on it. So if we had a closure, if a rink was closed because of a flood, that information will not be on there now. But if the city became a member of it and a subscription, then the communications department would be able to submit the information to New Welcome so that our information, we actually had a page. Because right now, if you look at the platform, it just says City of Charlottetown and there's nothing there. So that would be the advantage of it for the city.
So this is the one that was, so this was talked about a couple of years ago. This keeps coming back here. You know what? Unless it's changed, I don't see a whole lot of benefit. I mean, if there's a flood in the rink or there's something, we have methods of putting that out. We don't have to pay for a membership to do that.
Right, but we only have the method to put it out in 2 languages. On this platform, the minute it goes onto their platform, there's 27 languages of different people that live in Charlottetown can access it and see it in their own language instantly. That's the difference between it just being on our website and being on this. It translates into that many languages.
How much is it? How much do they want for it now?
I think it was 10,000. Oh, is it? Okay. Is it equal 10,000?
Yeah, that was the
Yeah.
ballpark.
It's a yearly, yeah.
If I may, Madam Chair, in the minutes, we have that provincial government 55 cents per citizen, municipal government qualify for a lower annual rate of 28 cents per citizen.
How much is it, Donna?
They have an app that whatever language that person's in, they just have an app on their phone. And it translates back and forth. Like, unless it's going to be a good benefit, and we've looked around at other providers, it sounds like a good idea to have all the different languages. Has there been other providers that have been talking to provide the same thing, or are we just after the same ones? Because this is the third year this come up, it's the same providers. So is there other people that provide it, or are they the only ones that provide it?
That's a great question. Now, when we had the presentation, it was explained to us that there was no other company doing this right now. It was new. Is that not right?
Yes, Madam Chair, that was my understanding as well, that they're the only provider that has a platform where, you know, you can log in and look at it in your specific language and look at all of the information from all of the various sources. And then you could log in and look at it in your language. And I think the piece was that, you know, thinking of emergency services, you know, that was one of the things that was highlighted, emergency services. So if there's warming shelters, that type of thing, you know, an individual who potentially would be new to the island would be able to log in and find that information in real time as opposed to seeking it out. That was my recollection of some of the commentary.
Okay, so it could be a benefit to a lot of our residents then.
The other thing too, it helps for if people are in places of trauma and they need to find those resources to help them out, whether they're in abusive situations, they're all there. And then you can actually communicate in your language and it would come back to somebody else in their language. So it becomes one of the examples they used was a lot of people that are new to PEI or Charlottetown, they would send their children to school only to find out once their children were there that there was no school that day because they wouldn't listen to the radio because they wouldn't understand what was being said. But if they had the opportunity to look at, like, oh, it's stormy outside today, I'm going to go onto my app and see, it would be right there under Charlottetown in their language. What's happening. So those emergency type services, it appears to be that it would be quite beneficial.
Madam Chair, why don't we ask the other municipalities that have the service now for the last year or two, what the activity or traffic on the service is? Summerside, you know, Stratford, Montague, just a spot check. Could we ask our staff to do a little phone conversation? It's, you know, those people have experience in the, you know, there's a difference, Madam Chair, between, you know, 18 people tapping in a month and 408. You know what I mean? That one would push me one way and the other would push me the other. So if we could get that information from the staff, just a telephone call, and it's thumbs up or thumbs down.
Would it be
Thank you.
committee's recommendation then to ask and give direction to staff to just get a little bit of additional information from the other municipalities using it in terms of best practice?
Madam Chair?
Never hurts to find out how they're, I mean, if there's other municipalities using it that we know, it never hurts to get their opinion. Yeah.
Madam Chair, sorry I'm late. I was just at the doctor to get my second booster. So I'm 4 shots, Donna. Waiting for the 5th. I was here at the presentation, so were you. And they do have a provincial program, correct? So could we also look at the numbers from the provinces, data on what kind of response they're getting from new Canadians living anywhere on the island? Because the program provincially covers all islanders. But, Madam Chair, I think if you go back to Duncan's presentation, our fee would be geared just to Charlottetown and services. So I think it's a good idea to get this information. And again, we're looking at our community being more and more multicultural, diverse. So it's an opportunity to see what's going on in Stratford because they are using it. The university, I think, is using it also, are they not?
The university, it's different. They're on, I believe they're on as a sponsor. So it's not the same as the municipalities. They have a different, like they actually pay money as a sponsor, I believe, to be on it, where the municipalities are paying a smaller amount by just the 28 cent per citizen.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sounds like it's a pretty good program. So I mean, it's as good as it sounds, I'm sure.
Okay, so we'll maybe bring this back for our next meeting. By then, maybe there could be some information from staff. Is that what committee wants?
Maybe you could contact the, Madam Chair, maybe you could contact the people that are marketing this system, and they could give you names of people, names of communities, municipalities that have the system in place, rather than running all over Queens County, Prince County, and Kings County. Thank you.
Okay. Let's see where we're at. Agenda. Is there any other new business before we move into closed session? Okay. If there isn't, I will ask for I just lost my stupid agenda here. Oh, here we go. I just will ask for a resolution to move into closed session as per section 1191, subsection D, human resource matter. Moved by Counselor Duffy, seconded by His Worship, Mayor Brown. And we'll just hang on a second till we're good to go.